In this module, we will study the quantum mechanical treatment of hydrogen atom. In our earlier modules, we have studied particle in a box problem, linear harmonic oscillator, and rigid rotator. These were all hypothetical systems. One was representing translational energy, another was representing vibrational energy, and rigid rotator was representing, or it was a model for rotational energy. After having studied those model systems, we now for the first time study a real chemical system. And the simplest chemical system is hydrogen atom. It just has a nucleus, proton, and one electron. Even other ionic systems like helium ion and lithium ion, Li2+, they will also be like hydrogen atom systems because all of them would contain one electron, although the nuclear charge in them would vary. I would like to point it out here that quantum mechanically only hydrogen atom can be studied exactly. All other chemical systems, they cannot be studied exactly through quantum mechanics because there are some problems in the solution of the Schrödinger equation. And the major problem comes because of electron-electron repulsion term. Now question comes, how do we begin our study of hydrogen atom? Hydrogen atom, as you can see here, is a two-particle problem consisting of a proton and one electron. The Schrödinger equation for hydrogen atom can be written as h cap psi is equal to E psi. And now we need to define Hamiltonian exactly. Hamiltonian for hydrogen atom will consist of two kinetic energy terms, one of the proton or the nucleus and one of the electron. Besides that, there will be an nucleus electron attraction terms, that will be the potential energy term. Using these, one can write Schrödinger equation in the way. Potential energy in this case will be equal to minus Ze square upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r, where r is the distance between the nucleus and the electron, and Ze is the charge on the nucleus. For hydrogen atom, it will be Z will be 1. If we take helium ion, Z will be 2, and so on. One thing you must have noticed here, that potential energy term is written with a negative sign. This is so because this is the energy of attraction between positively charged nucleus and negatively charged electron. Please remember, attraction terms will always be lowering the energy of the system and hence they will be negative. In contrast, had there been a nuclear-nuclear repulsion or electron-electron repulsion terms, they would have been positive. So, our Schrödinger equation now looks like this: minus h square upon 8 pi square me del E square. This represents the kinetic energy of electron. Me is the mass of the electron. Second term is minus h square upon 8 pi square mn del n square. This represents the mass of the nucleus, and then del n square is in terms of the coordinates of the nucleus. Then potential energy is minus Ze square upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r, and this whole psi is equal to E psi. That becomes our Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom. Now this total energy of the hydrogen atom consists of two parts. One is if the hydrogen atom moves as such from one point to the other, that will be its translational motion. And second is the energy of the electron relative to the nucleus. That would be electronic energy. Therefore, this E can be taken to be the sum of E electronic plus E translation. Once we know the total energy, which is equal to E electronic plus E translational, the corresponding total wave function will be the product of the two wave functions. One psi E, which is the electronic wave function, and psi T, which will be the translational wave function. Now, if we substitute these things in our Schrodinger equation, one gets the expression. Now, you notice from this equation that although psi and E have been separated, one is the translational, other is the electronic, but then this equation cannot be very easily separated into the coordinates of the system. So therefore, this two particle problem is reduced to one particle problem in a way. This is very, very important. How we will separate translational motion from the corresponding electronic motion. For this, we define the center of the mass coordinates of the system. The center of the mass is the place where the whole mass is centered. And please remember why we are doing this, because in the translational motion, it is the center of mass which moves. Therefore, if xcm, ycm and zcm are the coordinates of the center of the mass, which are given, you can see xcm and ycm and zcm are represented in terms of the coordinates of the nuclei and the corresponding coordinates of the electron and their respective masses. And x, y, z, these are the coordinates of the electron relative to the nucleus. That means x is equal to xe minus xn, y is equal to ye minus yn, and so on. Taking into account these two equations, then our expression for the Schrodinger equation becomes, notice for the first time that the reduced mass mu comes. Reduced mass becomes me mn upon me plus mn. And now we are defining two new Laplacian operators. One is the Laplacian operator in terms of the center of the mass coordinates, and second is the Laplacian operator in terms of the coordinates of the electron xyz relative to the nucleus. So these are very, very important. In this way, if we make some modifications in these equations, ultimately you get an equation, and that is minus h square upon 8 pi square m. Here m is the total mass, because this is the mass which is acting at the center of the mass, total mass. Then psi t is the translational wave function. Then del square cm, because this is the del square in terms of the center of the mass coordinates, psi t, minus h square upon 8 pi square mu. Mu is the reduced mass. Then we have psi e, which is the electronic wave function, and del E square. That means del E square would be basically in terms of x, y, z coordinates, which are the coordinates of the electron relative to the nucleus, psi E, minus z E square upon 4 pi epsilon 0 r, which is the potential energy term. And the right hand side is E electronic plus E translational. So now you notice that we have been able to split our Schrodinger equation into two separate equations. one representing the translational motion, and secondly we have another equation which represents electronic motion of the electron relative to the nucleus. Now the equation which represents the translational motion of the system, that means the total mass is moving, this is called translational Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom. Whereas the corresponding equation which is for the electronic motion of the system, psi e, that is called electronic Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom. So this is a very significant step. This also shows you that in the electronic Schrodinger equation, it is the reduced mass which counts, whereas in the translational Schrodinger equation, it is the total mass which counts. Translational Schrodinger equation will give you psi t, whereas electronic Schrodinger equation will give you psi e. Since our focus is on solving electronic Schrodinger equation, because translational Schrodinger equation would be more or less similar to a particle in a three-dimensional box, something like that. So now question is, how do we solve electronic Schrodinger equation? Electronic Schrodinger equation, as you can see here, in this equation, del square xyz represents the motion of the electron relative to the nucleus, and it is in terms of the coordinates of the electron x, y, z. Now, electronic Schrodinger equation cannot be split into three equations, one function of x, one function of y, one function of z, as we did for a particle in a three-dimensional box problem. That cannot be done. Why? It cannot be done because of the potential energy term. Potential energy terms involves R. No doubt, R can be expressed in terms of x, y, and z, but it's not possible to split electronic Schrodinger equations into three equations, each representing one dimension. Therefore, the first step in the solution of the electronic Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom is to transform this equation from Cartesian coordinates into polar coordinates. This is a very big step. So these polar coordinates, as you can see here, that there is an electron which has the coordinates x, y, z, and the polar coordinates would be r, theta, and phi. In this case, x, y, and z are related to the polar coordinates in the way x is equal to r sine theta cos phi, y is equal to r sine theta sin phi, and z is equal to r cos theta. So these are the three equations which link Cartesian coordinates with the polar coordinates. In all of these, r is the distance from the origin to the point, theta is the angle that we need to rotate down from the positive z axis to get to the point, and phi is how much we need to rotate around the z axis to get to that point. So from here you can also notice that r can vary in principle from 0 to infinity. So that becomes the limits of r. Theta can vary from 0 to pi, and phi can vary from 0 to 2 pi. Once we do this and bring about the transformation, the corresponding Laplacian operator, which we were initially representing in terms of x, y, and z, now that Laplacian operator can be converted in terms of the polar coordinates, and it becomes del square r theta phi. And as you can see, this Laplacian operator is equal to 1 upon r square del by del r square del by del r, plus 1 upon r square sine theta del by del theta. Then in parenthesis we have sine theta del by del theta plus 1 upon r square sine square theta del 2 by del phi square. So this is the Laplacian operator in terms of the polar coordinates. Now if we make this substitution in our electronic Schrodinger equation, we get, then we do some manipulations as you can see here, try to simplify it, and this simplification ultimately leads us to this equation. Here you can see the first part is basically representing r, theta and 5 components, and then we have 8 pi square mu r square upon h square. In parentheses we have E electronic minus V. V is the corresponding potential energy, and our total wave function, as you must have noticed in all these equations, after transforming from Cartesian to polar coordinates, is psi r theta phi. Because you know it very well that the wave function is always the function of the coordinates of the system. Earlier it was function of x, y, z. Now it is a function of r theta phi. Now this equation has an advantage that there are 3 coordinates here, r, theta and phi, and therefore the total electronic wave function of the electronic Schrodinger equation can be taken as the product of radial and the angular part. Angular part consists of 2 terms, theta phi and phi, and radial part is of course r. If we make this substitution in this equation, we get this equation further simplified, and further simplification of this equation, as you can see here, leads us to split this equation in polar coordinates into the corresponding 3 parts. The first part, as you can see in equation, is the radial part. It contains 2 terms. Then the second term, as you can notice here, is only the theta part, and the third term is the phi part. So through these modifications and simplifications, we have been able to split electronic Schrodinger equation in polar coordinates in 3 separate parts, representing radial part, theta part and phi part. Now question becomes that once we have done so, we will have to solve each part separately, but then they are linked to each other. We will have to solve angular part, which would mean phi part and theta part, and then ultimately radial part, and then through radial part ultimately we will get the electronic energy. All these solutions we will take up in the subsequent modules. To sum up, in this module we have begun our studies on the quantum mechanical treatment of hydrogen-like systems. Hydrogen is the simplest chemical system, consisting of 1 electron and 1 proton. We wrote its Schrodinger equation because it was a 2-particle problem. But then there is potential energy term which was negative because of the attraction between the nucleus and the electron. These 3 terms were in the Schrodinger equation for the hydrogen atom, and as you have noticed already, the total energy represents the translational energy and the electronic energy. First we split this equation through psi e and psi t, and after introducing center of the mass coordinates and doing some modifications, we split equation into 2 parts. One was the translational Schrodinger equation for hydrogen atom, which represents the movement of the center of the mass, and the second was the electronic Schrodinger equation of the electron relative to the nucleus. Then we focused on electronic Schrodinger equation, and we found that in order to solve this, we need to transform from Cartesian coordinates to polar coordinates. Otherwise, we are not able to split up into three equations. That we did through introduction of polar coordinates and making the necessary substitutions, and ultimately we got an equation where there were three parts. The first was the radial part, second was the theta part, and the last was the phi part. Now, in our subsequent modules, we will focus on the solution of each of these parts, and we will notice that they are linked to each other, and ultimately we will get the electronic energy of hydrogen atom as well as the total electronic wave function, which will be the product of the radial part and angular